we're going to write equations of parabolas in P form. So we're going to use the information for the two different types of equations, depending on if your parabola opens up or downward versus left or right. So we have slightly different setups, and we're going to be using the Vertex, Focus, Directrix, and we're going to write the equation using those. So this first one, we're given that the vertex is at 2, 3. So I'm going to use the first form. So the x-coordinate of the vertex is h, y-coordinate is k. So in this form, the focus, the x-coordinate is at h, and the y-coordinate is at k plus p. So really, in order to create the equation, all I need to know is h, p, and k. Then I can write it. Remember, x and y stay as the variables. So I know what h is. H is 2. I know k is 3, but I need to know what p is. Because in the focus, the y-coordinate is k plus p. And I know that k plus p equals 5. But I also know that k is equal to 3. So I'm just going to substitute 3 in for k. 3 plus p equals 5. Well, I can see right away that p has to equal 2. So I'm going to use that p equals 2, and I'm going to use h and k for my vertex to write my equation. So remember, my equation is up here. I have x minus the h value, which is 2, squared, equals 4 times my p value, which is 2, multiplied by y minus my k value, which is 3. So now I'm just going to simplify. I can simplify by multiplying 4 times 2. So I have x minus 2 squared equals 4 times 2 is 8, y minus 3. So I just brought everything else down because I couldn't simplify anything. And that's my equation. Okay, so I'm going to try the next one. This time I'm given the focus and the directrix. So if I look back at my two different P forms, here the directrix says x equals -4. So if I look at the directrix, this one's in y equals, this one's x equals. So I know I have to use this form over here. So that tells me x equals h minus p. So down here, x is equal to h minus p, meaning h minus p equals -4. So let's look at the focus. All right, we're still over on this side. So the focus is h plus p for the x coordinate, k for the y. So I'm just going to write that above it. We have h plus p and we have k. So what I know is that k equals 1. I know that from here. I need to know what h and p are. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, h plus p is equal to 4 and h minus p equals -4. Well, if h is the same and the only thing that's different is I have a +4 and -4, and my values are 4 and -4, I know p has to be 4. Because if something plus p equals 4 and something minus p equals -4, p has to equal 4, meaning in this case, 0 plus 4 is 4, and 0 minus 4 is -4. So I know h is 0. I could have used substitution to figure that out. So knowing this, or I could use addition. So I'm going to rewrite it over here. H plus p equals 4. H minus p equals -4. Okay, so I'm just going to add these together straight down. So kind of like systems of equations. H plus h is 2h. P plus -p is 0. Equals 4 plus -4 is 0. So I have to divide both sides by 2 and h is equal to 0. Well, that's what I found. Well, if h equals 0, plug in 0 into one of the equations for h. 0 plus p equals 4, meaning p has to equal 4. And that's what I got up here. So either, if you can easily identify what they are, go ahead and do it that way. Otherwise, you can solve for both h and p. So now I just write my equation. So this is the one where it's y minus my k value, which is 1, squared, equals 4 times p, and p is 4, multiplied by x minus my h value, which is 0. So this I can simplify. Y minus 1 squared equals 4 times 4 is 16, multiplied by x minus 0. But x minus 0 is just x, and 16 times x is just 16x. So this is my equation. Okay, so I'm going to keep on referring back to the information I have about p-form. So this one we're given the vertex and the directrix. This time directrix is y equals 2. Well, the directrix, here's the one that's y equals. This one's x equals. So I know how I have to use this form. So y equals k minus p. Y equals k minus p. And well, the vertex is just h comma k. So I know h is 0, I know k is 0. That means if y is equal to 2, I'm just going to replace y with 2, equals, we know k is 0 minus p. So let's just solve for p. 2 equals 0 minus p is negative p. Well, p can't be negative, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative divided by negative is positive, so p equals 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So I know my h, k, and p. So this is in the form x minus the h value, which is 0, squared, equals 4 times the p value, which is negative 2, multiplied by y minus the k value, which is 0. Now I'm going to simplify. X minus 0 is just x. So I'm left with x, but it's squared. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, multiplied by y minus 0, which is just y. Negative 8 times y is just negative 8y. So this one's simplified further than the other ones just because I have zeros on the inside. All right, so we have a vertex, negative 2, 0. So vertex is always at h comma k. All right, it opens upward. If it opens upward, I know that my p-value is greater than 0, so p is positive. P is positive. All right, focal width. So my focal width is the absolute value of 4 times p. So that's equal to 8. That means 4p is equal to 8. Right now I'm going to ignore if p is positive or negative because I know it's positive. So I'm just removing those absolute value bars knowing that p is positive. Okay, to get p by itself, divide both sides by 4, and p is equal to 2. So I now know what p is, I know what h and k are. So because it opens upward, I know I need to use this form. So it is x minus the h value, which is 2, squared equals 4 times the p value, which is 2, multiplied by y minus my k value, which is 0. Now simplify. X minus 2 squared equals 4 times 2 is 8. Y minus 0 is just y, and 8 times y is 8y. Okay, I'm just going to go through one more that's just slightly different, and I'll let you try some on your own. All right, so focus is at 0, 3. It opens left. Focal width of 4. So if it opens left, that means it has to be in this form and P is less than 0. So P is negative. So P equals a negative. Okay, and the focus in this form is H plus P comma K. So H plus P is equal to 0 and K is 3. Okay, so I know that P is negative. I'm going to ignore that for now. Focal width is absolute value of 4 times P, and that equals 4. So again, I'm going to ignore the absolute value part. 4 times our P value equals 4. To get P by itself, divide both sides by 4. So P equals 1. But because this was absolute value, I didn't know if my answer was positive or negative. But we do know that P is negative because it opens to the left. So that means P is negative 1. All right, so I know what P is. I know that K equals 3. So I need to know what H is. I know that H plus P is equal to 0. But I also know P is equal to negative 1. So I'm just going to substitute in negative 1. H plus negative 1 equals 0. So to solve for H, just add 1 to both sides. And H is equal to 1. So I know the value of H, K, and P. And remember, because it opened left, we have to use this form, y minus k squared. So we have y minus k, which is 3, squared, equals 4 times p, p is negative 1, multiplied by x minus h, which is 1. So now I'm going to simplify if I can. I have y minus 3 squared equals 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, multiplied by x minus 1. All right, I'm going to have you try the exact same thing on a few different problems. And then I'll go through the answers with you. Let's see, I can't get them all in, so go ahead. You can pause it here, do those first 4, then I'm going to move it down. So here's the last one. Go ahead and try them out. I'll go through the answers with you when you're ready. All right. So we have Vertex is at H, comma K. Focus we have at H, comma K plus P. So all we need to know is P. We know H and K. So since K plus P equals 0, and we know K is 0, 0 plus P equals 0, meaning, all right, so we know, this is the one that we have to look at. It wouldn't make sense for P to equal 0. So this is the one, this one's tricky. Okay, so we know that this can't be K plus P because, well, isn't it the same? That has to be K, meaning I used the wrong side. So you always have to double check that, look at it, see if it makes sense. If it doesn't, go back to see what happens. So because they're both 0, we know K is 0, meaning it has to be the one over here. So we have to use this form, meaning the x value is H plus P. So always double check yourself. I have to do it myself. Okay, so I'm going to ignore that. Now we can figure out P. H plus P is equal to 0, but H is negative 1. So negative 1 plus P equals 0. So here I'm going to add 1 to both sides. P equals 1. So my equation, y minus the k value of 0 squared equals 4 times 1 multiplied by x minus the h value of negative 1. Simplify to y minus 0 squared equals 4 times x plus 1. So that one was tricky. All right, next. All right, we have the focus, and the directrix is y equals negative 3. So we're going to have to use y equals k minus p, and the focus is at h comma k plus p. So hopefully you've done the math. You know that h equals 2. We know that p will equal 3 because what plus p equals 3 and some number minus p equals negative 3. That means that k equals 0. So we have x minus h is 2 squared equals 4 times my p value of 3 multiplied by y minus the k value of 0. Simplifies to x minus 2 squared equals 12 times y. Okay. Vertex, we have h comma k. Directrix, because it's x equals h minus p. And x is 3. We know h is 1, meaning if I subtract 1 from both sides, I get 2 equals negative p. Divide both sides by negative 1, and p equals negative 2. Okay, so I had to use the form y minus my k value of 5 squared equals 4 times the p value of negative 2 multiplied by x minus 1. So we have y minus 5 squared equals negative 8 times x minus 1. Okay, so that one wasn't too tricky as long as you remembered it was this form. Okay, vertex is h comma k. It opens to the right, meaning I know my p-value is positive. So focal width, absolute value of 4 times p is equal to 2. So I'm just going to say 4 times p equals 2. Divide both sides by 4, and p is equal to 1/2. So we have, if it opens to the right, I know I have to use this form. Again, y minus the k value of 2 squared equals 4 times my p value of 1/2 multiplied by x minus the h value of negative 3. So y minus 2 squared equals 2 times x plus 3. And the last one, all right, opens downward, meaning I'm going to use x minus h squared. So if it opens downward, p is negative. My focus in this case is h comma k plus p. Focal width, I know it's going to be negative, but I'm going to say the absolute value of 4 times p is equal to 12. So I'm just going to do 4 times p equals 12, divide both sides by 4, and p equals 3. But I know it's negative. Whoops. So p equals negative 3. So I know p is negative 3. I know h is 4. And I know k plus p equals 0. But p is negative 3. So k plus negative 3 equals 0. Add 3 to both sides, and k equals 3. So I use the x minus h squared form. So I have x minus h is 4 squared equals 4 times p, which is negative 3, multiplied by y minus k, which is 3. So we get x minus 4 squared equals negative 12 times y minus 3. All right.